Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated podcast, where we take animation seriously. I'm Beatriz Mourad, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
And April Collins.
Hi there.
Today we are in catch-up mode. I was on vacation, and OVA was on overdrive with She-Ra and Infinity Train coverage, so today we will be discussing not one, but two episodes, episode 18 and episode 19 of Fruits Basket. Warning, spoilers for everything that has aired up to this point. Some of us have read the manga, some of us have seen the early 2000s version of the anime, but we won't be spoiling anything beyond episode 19. You can find out more information about this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes at overlyanimated.com/iTunes. You can find us on Spotify. Link is on our website. And you can also find us on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated. All right, so before we get started, I just want to warn listeners that this podcast will be discussing things related to suicide, so consider this your trigger warning. So sorry, but the show gave us no choice. And also warning, there is an episode on the show that we're going to be discussing that has a lot of transphobia in it, so if this is something that triggers you as well, again, I apologize for having to talk about it, but we have to engage with the bad things this show does. So sorry. All right, so let's get into these general thoughts.
I just want to say, you keep saying sorry, and it's like, wow, you're really channeling Ritsu right now.
You're absolutely right. That's actually really funny. I was like, you know what? Of all the Zodiacs, Ritsu is the one I relate to the most.
I can
apologize a lot. Yeah. Like, I apologize to an absurd degree. And it's like, it's such a, yeah. Anyway. Sorry. Okay, so general thoughts.
You stop that.
No.
It's catching.
It is. Tell me what you thought of these two episodes, Michelle.
I really, really, really liked episode 18. I feel like episode 19 was a mixed bag, but episode 18 was so good. I loved getting more from Yuki, and I just love that the show is reaching a point now where, of course, Toru's gonna have her moment of having like a speech that, you know, dazzles somebody in need in the Soma family. But now, like, the other Zodiac members are starting to talk to each other and support each other, too. So, like, it's not as on Toru as it used to be. And that's kind of, like, a really good stepping stone, I think, for this show. Because both episodes have characters who aren't Toru, like, supporting each other, and that seems like a kind of recent development, and I'm, like, so for it, so that's a big plus. The tiger form of Kisa's the cutest thing.
I know.
It's like, even when she's chomping down on somebody, I'm like, oh my god, she's so cute, what an angry, feisty kitty. But, oh man, I mean, yeah, there's a lot to talk about, so I'll be brief for now, but yeah, episode 18 was great. I can say that at least, wholeheartedly.
Yeah. April, what about you?
So my feelings very much reflect Michelle's. Episode 18 was my favorite by far. Episode 19 is, I mean, there are some nice moments, but it's also a big disappointment, which we're obviously going to get into. But, like, I thought Ritsu's monkey form was kind of cute, too, and I don't like monkeys at all. And I was like, oh, come here, I want to hold you. Like, and then, like, same with, like, Kisa. I was like, oh, this tiny tiger, come cuddle with me. Like, both of you can come cuddle in my bed. I've got a weighted blanket, and we can just wait this out together. But yeah, like, my feelings pretty much reflect Michelle's, so, and I'm really glad, like, Michelle brought up how the Zodiac members are starting to rely on each other more, and I think that's just something really great, is that they're, like, building kind of, it's like their own internal like network, and which is obviously something that's kind of new for them, and you can tell, but they've seemed to like adapted to it like greatly, and also like that's great that Toru's like some of that pressure is coming off of her as well, you know, because it seemed like everyone's like, oh, Toru's our therapist, let's go run to her, but that's not the case anymore. So they kind of have each other to support each other, and that's just like that's growth in and of itself.
Yeah, it is. I think that is crucial progress that cannot be understated. The fact that yeah.
I like
but,
fully agree. Like it's just kind of like incredible to see that, and like for them to like come so far, and like I mean really like for all of them to come that far is just really great. Like as someone who's like also like personally going through therapy and all of that type of stuff, like being able to reach out to others is like a huge step. So I'm proud of you, Soma family. Like, way to go.
Yeah. Talk to me when like, what's his name? Akito. Talk to me when he's dealt with.
Yeah.
There's so much.
So like,
well, I will
52.
Exactly. Like, I'll give them like, this is huge, but also they still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, for sure.
But before we dive deeper into these episodes, I do want to say that my favorite Zodiac showed up finally.
Oh, it's the Tiger Girl?
Oh, it's the Tiger Girl.
Yay!
Oh,
she's so cute.
So I don't know if I should be worried of how poorly I remember the manga.
No, it's been years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's been a solid decade.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
Like, there's a panel in the manga, which is the one where she's like, basically she transforms back into her human form and she's still biting Toru's like hand.
Oh, that's so cute.
That panel is the clearest memory I have of Fruits Basket, more than anything. Like, I just be so like, oh, this poor child. Like, oh no, she's crying and she's biting her hand and it must hurt, but oh my god, this poor child. And the fact that and again, I remembered it so poorly because I did not know this is how it was going to go. I was like, wait, okay. So yeah, I don't know if I should be worried, but I'm just saying, Soma, Kisa, she's my favorite. Tigers are the best. Oh man, I love tigers. Anyway,
this is a good fun fact about you, Beatriz.
I know, I'm learning something.
It's all about bunnies and tigers for me. So, Mommy and Kisa are my favorites. Not a surprise. All right, so let's get into episode 18. What are your initial thoughts on Kisa? Like, she's like the only female Zodiac we've met so far.
Besides Kagura.
Oh, yes, and Kagura. Oh my god, Kagura, I am so sorry.
We forgot Kagura again.
Look how cute us all up now.
Yeah.
I was blinded by the cuteness of the tiger that I forgot the cuteness of the boar. I am so sorry, Kagura. Okay, question. Is Kagura's Zodiac, like, animal transformation still the cutest, or does Kisa take it? Like, is it the boar or the tiger? Like, they're both really cute.
Yeah. They're cute in their own ways.
Yeah, they are.
Kisa's just like got that cat element that's just so
Michelle can't
relatable.
Resist that.
I know. Like, Kisa's the tiger, and she's like sitting in the corner, and she's like all mad. She's turned away, and Yuki's like, Kisa, come apologize, and she's like, no.
I know.
I was like, oh my god, she's like such a cat. She's got all these cat instincts. I just loved it.
And the fact that Toru, like, when she first sees her, she's like, oh, what a cute cat! And then everyone's like,
no, that's not
she's
a cat.
Like, this is a person. This is a human child.
This is a human child in tiger form.
But yeah, so tell me your thoughts on Kisa. Like, what do you think, like, how could anyone bully her? Like, how?
It's like such a unique form of bullying too. Like that because what is it? They're like upset about her hair color, and then
it just like looks different and not like a normal Japanese little girl, I guess.
Yeah,
quote unquote normal. Yeah.
But then, like, it's interesting, too, that they're just like, oh, well, like, we're just gonna ignore you. And I'm like, that is so cruel. Like, why are kids the worst?
Yeah.
So, my heart goes out to her so much, like, because no one wants to be bullied, like, ever, and, like, she literally did nothing wrong, so.
Yeah. Michelle, like, what's your, like, thoughts on Kisa and her situation, at least when we first meet her?
It's, like, sadly believable that she would be bullied. I mean, because I have to wonder, so, like, her classmates, you know, they're all, like, basic people who don't have fun eyes and hair colors, I guess, because this is, like, a recurring thing. Like, Haru has dealt with this, Kyo has dealt with this, I'm sure Yuki has, too. But, I mean, because I guess, like, they ask her, like, why is your hair and eye color like that? And she's like, it just is. And they don't know what to do with that. Like, they're the ones who feel uncomfortable about her presumed differences. So they attack her in subtle ways that the teacher, I guess, can't cipher out. They would laugh at her when she'd say anything. They just flat out ignored her and isolated her. And that's a very malicious form of bullying, but it's also the kind of bullying that flies under the radar. So I think that's part of, like, what makes the teachers know so terrible, too. It's like, it can't be on the girl who's being targeted to fix the problem. That's not how the bullying works. And that's part of what Yuki gets into. He's like, so, like, the teacher's solution is for her to just love herself because no one can, she, like, says in the letter, like, no one can, like, be nice to you or love you if you don't love yourself first. And Yuki's like, that's literally the opposite of what needs to happen.
Right.
When you're that sad, you can't think of nice things about yourself that feels like a lie. It doesn't feel true because you're that down. So it takes somebody else showing you kindness for you to start feeling like you're worth something. So it's just, like, I think it's, like, so relatable and super sad. And, like, it's no wonder she stopped talking. Because, like, they would make fun of her every time she tried talking. She didn't have any friends in her class. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, I just feel really sad. But, I mean, the ending was, like, kind of uplifting. But I also felt bad that she, like, it seemed like part of her resolution was also that she just had to, like, kind of stick it out and try harder to overcome it. Which, like, I guess that's a solution, but also, like, I don't know if it should all be on her to just fix everything. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
But, like, I got where Yuki was coming from when he was giving her the pep talk, and I was glad that he was giving her a pep talk, because Yuki's probably never done that before with anyone, so that was good baby steps for him, too, reaching out to somebody else.
Okay, all right, you bring up a really interesting point. I was going to leave this for later, but let's just talk about it now. So, Yuki's advice, like pep talk advice, like Yuki's Toru moment, I guess, is the best way to describe it. So, okay,
moment.
Just to give everybody, you've seen the episode, but again, just to remind everyone that the teacher gave a letter, Kisa received a letter from her homeroom teacher being like, come back, you need you should love yourself. And Yuki just kind of goes like, how can you learn to love yourself when the whole point is that you only see the things you hate? Mm-hmm. And I'm with him at that point. I'm like, yeah, 100%. Like, it's not so, you can't just so easily say like, just love yourself and get over it. It's like, no, it's so much more difficult than that, so much more complicated than that. And on top of all that, it's like, there's that whole section of like, her feeling ashamed and embarrassed about being bullied, which we can get into a bit later. So it's like, there's so much happening. But then Yuki goes, only when someone says they love you are you able to love yourself. And I don't know how...
I don't think, like, the thing is, he says, like, only I'm like, it sure is nice for someone else to love you when you hate yourself, but that's not always gonna happen when you need it to. So there need to be others, like, things you can do to kind of help your situation along. I mean, And again, like, I get what Yuki's saying, but, like, I don't think it's quite as much of an ultimatum as
It's like,
at least, like, that implies, yeah.
It's like when people are like, oh, you're sad, well, just be happy. Like, it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's kind of like, I don't know, because, like, the teacher is like, oh, well, like, you have to love yourself, otherwise how is anyone else going to love you? And I'm like, well, I mean, that's not, like, entirely true.
Yeah. It's just like,
harsh.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, maybe you should tell the other kids to be nice to her.
Yeah.
Fix herself. Like, there's nothing wrong with her.
Well, and the other thing is, like, that gets me too with, like, the teacher's note. I know, like, we're back on the teacher's note, but she, like, in the teacher's note, she also says, like, oh, don't you want to come back to, like, your friends in your class? And I'm like, you're the teacher. You should be the first to notice that, like, she doesn't have friends. Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, because I always feel like teachers are always really keen on stuff like that. And so for her to just be like, oh, come back to your friends in class, like, come on now, like, do you really not pay that much attention in class? Like, is your classroom size too large? Like, what is inhibiting you from being a proper, like, teacher? So
I don't know, I feel like it's hard, though, because I feel like part of this is because, like, these are little girls bullying her, and I feel like not, you know, stereotype aside, like, the passive-aggressive nature of, like, you know, girl bullying can lead to just like the way you get to your victim is by being so subtle that it flies under the radar of a teacher. It's not like you're beating them up in class.
Yeah.
You're just like weakening their morals by just like making them feel terrible about themselves. And I think like too, the teacher, I don't think she even honestly knows that she's being bullied. She just like sees this girl who's sad, who doesn't have any friends. The other kids don't seem to like her. And she mistakenly assumes like, oh, she's not trying hard enough. If she wasn't so down on herself, people would like her and she'd have friends. And then she writes this whole note about it and it's completely wrong.
Yeah.
But I feel like the teacher, I don't know, like, I don't like anything she wrote in that letter, but I think, like, it's believable to me that she wouldn't necessarily notice that she's being bullied if it's in such a subtle way.
That's
at the same time, yeah.
I don't know. I'm just thinking, shouldn't the teacher, instead of saying, hey,
she should put it on the kids.
Fix yourself.
Yeah.
She should say, hey, even if she can't speak for the other kids, she can just say, hey, I miss you. I missed your presence in class. Like, I hope you do come back, whatever.
Exactly.
You know, there's a way to say things, and that is not the way that she should have said things, or he, I don't know.
Support. Like, you can always come and talk to me, even if, like, you know, she wouldn't do that because she's ashamed of the bullying. Just, like, offer her a chance to connect with the teacher and to get support, because it's like the being in school that's causing all this stress in the first place. She needs somebody there that's on her side to get through this. Well, it can't just be on her.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that, like, I guess just really sucks about that situation is that, like, even her mom doesn't seem to be like that, like, connecting for her. So, and that's something else that they, like, bring up too, or you know, because they kind of reminisce on, like, the whole Momiji situation. And so, and, like, because her mom's just like, can you just stop causing trouble for me? And I'm like, wow, rude, first off, like, and then, like, no wonder she doesn't want to talk. Like, you don't care enough to listen. Like, so,
okay, can we...
I was also gonna say, like I get, like, Yuki's, like, advice kind of thing, because sometimes, if you're so far, like, down the rabbit hole, of, like, depression, it's, like, you do not see any of the, like, the positive things, and so sometimes it does take someone for you to kind of come to, like, that realization as well. So, or even if it's just someone, like, to, like, obviously you would be, like, trying to better yourself for yourself, but then sometimes, like, that extra motivation of, like, okay, well, like, Toru, like, you know, loves me and I want to get better so that I can love her back. Or, you know what I mean? Like, or properly love her back or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
No, that makes sense, because, like, I will say, even though I think the advice Yuki gives her of, like, you just need to, like, fix this with these people and be better than them to succeed is kind of misguided and not as simple as it is, he does, like, remind her of the support system she has outside of that school, which is, like, him and Haru and Toru, and he's like, just try for it, and if it doesn't, if it gets hard again, come back here.
Yeah.
We'll be here for you. So he does, like, remind her, like, she doesn't have to be perfect. She just has to try, and that, like, no matter what, they're gonna be waiting for her.
Yeah.
And
like,
they'll
be
help
there.
her. Which is good. That's, like, probably the most important thing. And I guess it's kind of, like, what this episode's going for. It's like, look, like, I have a support system over here in this house. And knowing that's giving me the courage to try to fight this head on. Yeah. It's just like, I just really don't want to give the implication that, like, her being a little kid being bullied is, like, on her to fix, because that's, like, not, she's one person, and she's already kind of beat down at this point. So I feel like if she does not succeed, it's not because she was not good enough at trying, clearly.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think any efforts that she does make should just be applauded there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's a big step.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Speaking of progress made, we learned that Yuki also went through something similar, even though circumstances were different. He also went through a period where he didn't speak. And we can only assume it's because of
the psychological torture.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. It's a different form of psychological torture than little girls in school.
Yeah.
But it's, so is there any, does it surprise you at all, this kind of revelation that when he was younger, he went through a phase where he didn't speak? Or was this just like, well, of course he's gone through some trauma?
I mean, it's not super surprising, because, like, sometimes that's just how you cope, is, like, by shutting down in that way. And so, and while, like, his situation was obviously different, and I'm glad that, like, he said that, too.
Yeah.
Because I think that's, for anyone who's, like, dealing with, like, that, like, degree of, like, depression or anything, is, like, knowing that, like, hey, like, I went through something similar, though it's not the same as yours, like, because I think that's a thing is where, like, that gets, like, misconstrued, or, like, that it can almost be, like, offensive when people are like, oh, well, like, I get sad sometimes too, and I'm like, no, you don't understand what depression is, like, so I'm glad that, like, he laid that down. So, but I mean, it's really, like, not surprising that he would have, like, especially because he had been isolated. Like, why? Like, if you're in isolation for so long, like, why you don't have any reason to speak? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so of course, like, at some point, like, you would just be like, okay, well, if I'm just gonna end up in this room alone, like, why do I even bother talking?
Yeah. Yeah. He was ashamed of this period of his life, and we don't hear him actually talk about it and openly engage with that moment until the end of the episode. That's really when he bestows his Toru moment to Kisa. But let's talk about because for one, when I first saw that and saw his reaction, I didn't get it. I thought, like, why is he so upset about this? And then Toru once again teaches me something new and talks about her own experience with bullying while trying to get Kisa to open up and just says, you do feel ashamed about your weaknesses. You do feel embarrassed and whatever, and you're scared that people aren't going to love you. And he hears that and just directly impacts him, and just, you can tell I feel like you could just tell, it just, again, is another instance of just how much Toru, just by being herself, is impacting him, because then we see just such an immediate kind of result of that Because that would happen, in the midway through the episode, and then immediately at the end, at the conclusion, we see the impact she has and how he's able to now be not afraid to engage with the voices of himself.
It's all about her. Like, Toru is that, like, kind of, like, loving, consistent presence at his side that makes him feel more comfortable and brave to be, like, class president and to engage with Kisa. And I'll say one thing, like, I thought was really interesting when Toru was talking about her experience with bullying is, that line, Beatrice, about her saying, like, she was afraid her mom wouldn't love her anymore. I feel like that's such a good way of kind of giving voice to, like, you one, feeling ashamed that you could let yourself be bullied, and two, potentially believing, like, the things people say about you.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're bullied, to then assume, well, if I am this gross, terrible person, who would want to love me? Like, either you're ashamed because you let it happen, or you're ashamed because, like, maybe it's true. And I think that's, like, such a good point that really like there's so much truth behind that. And I really appreciate the show for kind of, like, highlighting that, because, like, it's not a fun thing to acknowledge, but it's so true. And I don't know, it just, like, really jumped out at me at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, like, the complexity of that feeling is it's like, it's so hard to convey, and Toru was able to explain it so eloquently that just really struck me. And also the magic of Toru, like, question. So we meet Kisa's mom. We meet her, and like, a lot of people were, when we talked about parents in previous podcasts, in the Fruits Basket world, a lot of comments said that it was different suggested that it was going to be different if the Zodiac was a girl than when the Zodiac was a boy, and whether or not their mother rejects them or is overprotective. And I don't understand, because this woman rejects Kisa as well. So
I mean,
kind of.
Yeah, she's not Michi's mom for sure. She didn't, like, trace her memory. But I think for her, like, when she's introduced, like, you see just how, like, tired and exasperated is. She's just, like, at the end of her rope. She does not know what to do, which I think, like, again, this show seems very much to care about, at least so far, is not saying that any of these moms are terrible people who hate their children, but just, like, really playing into the fact that this kind of situation is so uniquely difficult for these women who aren't super prepared to have these kinds of children. And they sometimes do their best, sometimes don't do their best to varying degrees. But I think, like, Kisa's mom, I feel bad for her. I also think, like, she's not making Kisa's life super easy, but, like, I do think that phone call thing was definitely there for a reason, to try to convey that, like, she is really concerned about her, but she's also just, like, so, like, she might not know what Kisa needs. If Kisa's not telling her about the bullying, she doesn't know why she's not talking anymore. I could see that adding to her anxiety and concern about her daughter, but that also just kind of exacerbating the whole frustration she has with the situation. She's like, well, is she not talking because she is possessed by a tiger spirit? Or is it special? Or is it because, like, I'm not doing a good job? Or is it because my kid's just weird? Like, I don't know, but I care about her, but this is hard and I'm tired. And that's kind of the face she shows Kisa, like, this tired, concerned, but, like, just, like, not happy person. And I think that's why Kisa, like, again, like, isn't gonna tell her, because she doesn't want to disappoint her any more than she already is. So to me, it just, like, made the mom seem super complicated, but, like, understandably so. And it just makes me, like, sad for all these parents who, like, don't know what to do with these kids. Yeah, I mean, honestly, maybe Ritsu has the best relationship with his mom so far. Like, I don't know.
I think so, yeah.
I think so, too.
Yeah, and that's, like, really interesting, because that's, like, the third mom we've gotten.
Yeah. Okay, well, here's a question, because there's a very specific thing that they did where they have darkness clouding her eyes, like her eyes are very, in the beginning, before Toru starts talking and explaining how, and getting through not only to Kisa, but she gets through to Kisa's mom. You know, because it's once she says, like, she didn't know how to say it because she was afraid you weren't going to love her. And then suddenly this grayness, this dark shadow vanishes from her eyes and from her forehead. And Yuki had the same thing too when he was when he was watching it, and before Toru really gets into it, he also has this kind of shadow over his eyes and has them all blank. And it's kind of like, is this kind of is the show trying to give us kind of a physical representation of the curse and how Toru is able to shatter it just by being Toru? Like, and that's the thing, it's like the mom doesn't call until after we see the shadow disappear. So I'm like, is she on her way to getting to a place where she can be a parent to Kisa, or at least a positive influence in Kisa's life? And is that thanks to Toru? Like, my question is, I have a theory that it's because of Toru that she's able to make that phone call. Do you agree with that theory?
Oh,
April?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think so. Especially because, like, again, I mean, like, we're talking about, like, someone who's suffering, I mean, not like, she's being bullied, but it's causing such a depression in her that, she stops talking. And so, like, the mom, I feel so bad. Like, everything Michelle said about the mom is just totally right, because it's complicated. And she obviously does care, and it's very easy at the beginning of the episode to kind of hate her for how she's treating Kisa or how she approaches it. But then, like, you're right, like, Toru, like, sort of explains how her situation played out. And so it's almost like, kind of like literally the clouds are parting and you're seeing, like, the other side, or seeing through the darkness.
Yeah. No,
like,
I think that's it, April. Yeah. It's like Toru,
because, like,
they just are assuming the worst until Toru brings up the fact that, like, look, it's not that she, like, hates you and she doesn't trust you to tell you, Mom, what's going on. She doesn't want to disappoint you. It's because she loves you that she doesn't want you to know about this because she's ashamed of it. And I think it's like, it all changes for both of them because they're both, like, thinking the worst, because when you don't know what's going on, it's easy to assume the worst thing, because that's kind of just where your mind naturally goes when you're worried. But Toru is able to, like, kind of, like, set their fears aside by just, like, being honest about her own situation. And once the mom gets it, she's like, oh, wow, no, that's not it at all. Like, of course I still love you, my child. I was just really upset and concerned. And I feel like we get that even just through the phone call without her having to, like, say all that to Kisa on the moment. Even though I honestly would have appreciated seeing it in the moment. Yeah.
I think even though I would have appreciated in the moment, I would have thought it would have happened too fast. I think we needed them both to have that space, and we needed, like, I feel like in an ideal world, her mom was going to be the one to get her to talk, but I feel like this allows for, like, I don't know, I feel like it would have maybe been too fast. But let's talk about just very briefly of how adorable Kisa was, like, following Toru around the house. I thought, like, and what was so funny was when,
Toru, like, squeeze about it. She's, like, loving it, too.
Yeah, like, and I love when Kyo's just like, doesn't that, like, annoy you? And then she's like, it's so cute! And then the dog is just like, obviously not. But that was just, like, a really lovely thing. And then when Toru finally hears her speak and just, like, starts, like, sobbing, and I'm just like, these two shouldn't be separated ever. I love them so much.
The way Toru was crying, you would have thought that, like, Kisa was her child. It had been, like, so long that she'd been waiting for her to talk instead of, like, what, like, one day.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So Yuki and Toru have a lovely moment that it's up there. So so Yuki's like, and also, like, what I love is, like, Yuki's so, like, for instance, when he was giving Kisa when he was talking to her, he even said, like, he was aware of how important Toru had become to Kisa, and he was like, don't worry, she'll be here. for whenever you need her, she's going to be here. Without Kisa even mentioning Toru, he was like, don't worry. Because he's so aware that it's like Toru is like the center of life itself. And there's like a moment where he just like is like with her, like where Kisa is like sleeping on Toru's lap or something. And
so cute!
Like, and he just like rests his head on her shoulder and just like, just let me have this. No,
it's like when he was like watching him from the side of the house and she like went into Toru's arms and he's probably thinking like, I want that.
Yeah.
That right there. I want to do that. So it was his chance to get the physical affirmation and support he so desperately hungered for.
Yeah. And we can't have a Yuki-centric episode without a moment between the two of them, and it was
been very gracious that way. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah. And here's something that's surprising. Kyo's kind of disappeared these past couple episodes, right? Like, he's been kind of...
Yeah.
Even when they were all talking in the rooftop about Kisa and her situation, Kyo wasn't there. So I'm thinking...
He wasn't even there.
So I'm thinking, like, is this some weird cat thing where he feels intimidated by a tiger because a tiger's like a big cat or something? Oh my god!
Yo, she could totally take him as a big tiger. She's bigger than him already.
You know, I think, like, is that what's happening? Like, why is he so absent? I mean, am I the only one who's been feeling his absence lately, or what? Or is it just because I've been gone? So maybe that's why.
Kyo, like, doesn't know how to talk about feelings and stuff yet, so he's like, well, I'm not going to be any use to your conversation. I'll just do my own thing till this is resolved. Because, like, what kind of advice would he give? Like, I honestly don't know if he were there.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he needed to be part of, like, the whole Kisa thing, but I think because just thinking about how these episodes have been released, we had the Arisa-centric episodes for 2 weeks. We had that. Then we have this. It's like 3 weeks of like no Kyo anything. And then we do, and there's like slightly some Yuki stuff in here. And as we're going to talk about in episode 19, there's again no Kyo. So are you feeling the absence of Kyo, I guess is what I'm asking. Like, do you miss the mystery of his life and his problems? Like, we're kind of ignoring him a little bit.
Do you miss the mystery of his life?
I don't know.
It was just so great. I'm sorry.
Well, do you?
I mean, like, I feel like we're purposely, like, not talking about him right now, because I feel like because, like, we still have to talk about his part of the curse, or whatever, and so, like, I feel like we're purposely, like, not focusing in on that, because, like, it's gonna require more time, or we're just not getting to it right now. And so, like, it seems like whenever we're, like, I guess focusing on healing a specific character, then we sort of start to see them more. And so, like, that's why, like, we're seeing a little bit more of Yuki, because, like, despite, you know, the other characters, like, you know, being introduced and, like, we're addressing their issues, like, we're also, like, helping, like, Yuki at the same time. And so, like, but, like, whatever Kyo's got going on does not relate to everybody else, and so that's just why he's not, like, there. Because again, like, we're building out, like, that support network, but, like, Kyo's still very removed from that, because I mean, everyone has their own experiences, but his seem even more so removed from everyone else, so he's, like, in a different situation, he's in a different place, and it may also, like, tie back into the fact that, like, I mean, like, he's the cat of the family, and so, like, he doesn't necessarily always get included in the first place, and so, like, you know, it kind of just, like, plays back into, like, the Soma family thing where they're like, oh, well, we have to exclude Kyo, like, in our family healing process, so whatever.
You just made an excellent point, which is, and it's something where if you don't think about Kyo, you don't really see it, which is, this very much felt like the inner Soma circle, and he very much felt out of it. Yeah. So it's one of those, it's a decision that was very clearly made when this was being written, and then in the anime when this was being remade in the anime, where it's like, this is a Soma issue and Kyo is not there. Like, this is a crisis in the Soma clan. Kisa isn't speaking. She's being bullied. We don't know how to help her. She's not going to school. Kyo, like, left school too. Like, he went to the mountains and trained. And again, no one had this kind of crisis thing. No one kind of got together.
Only Kagura. She's probably the only one of all the rest of the Somas who cared at all.
Exactly. So I love that observation, April, because it does really capture just how much distance there still remains, and how the Somas treat Kyo as the outsider. So yes, that is very worth noting. I didn't think about it before. So yeah, I think that does it for this episode. We still have an entire other episode to talk about. Is there, but, any kind of remaining thoughts about episode 18 before we move on? Anything you want to add if we haven't talked about it yet?
I just can't wait to see more Kisa.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah!
I feel like we're not done with her.
I hope not.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's gonna come back at least twice. I feel like that has to happen. To just check in on their progress, if nothing else. Yeah. Or to get more, like, tidbits of them relating to the family. Mm-hmm. Haru was very, like, my attractiveness to Haru increased again in the beginning. Like, not only was he carrying a baby cat, but he was, like, covered in rainwater, and he had his sleeves rolled up.
Yeah.
It's just, it was all so good. And also, Yuki's also very attractive. These are very shallow comments, but I felt them deeply watching. I was like, Yuki's so pretty. I want more episodes with Yuki all the time. His hair is so nice. And what Haru, I mean, just a whole episode of those two together, that could be perfect.
I will say, that shot of him leaning on Toru's shoulder added more, like, they were like, we need to, like,
it was like,
he's always been really,
Mm-hmm.
Not just more intimate, but, like, they were like, we need to draw him really well in this shot. Like, more so. We need to, like, amp it up, because there were just certain lines and certain details that I noticed in the way that he was drawn that made it stand out from other shots of his. So, I'm taking note of this. Just so you know, Animation Studio, I'm aware of what you're doing.
I'm on to you.
We're on to you.
We are on to you. But yeah, so let's move on to episode 19. A lot to talk about in episode 19. Let's just start with a disclaimer about this segment. First, I want to make it clear, all of us here are all cisgendered women. We aren't speaking from experience when we start talking about this episode. We aren't the ones who are negatively impacted by any of the grossness of this episode. So when we do start to engaging with a lot of this stuff, mainly the transphobia in this episode, just letting you know that there is a limit to just how we felt in this episode, how we experienced this episode. There is a limit to that. So just disclaimer, but we have to talk about it because there's just the grossness of this episode was so bad that it would be worse for us to ignore it. So, Ri-chan, the show doesn't do a great job in what it's trying. I don't know what it's trying to do is the thing. And
I don't know what it's trying to do.
Yes.
It's so confusing because I kept thinking, like, is this, like, just a really bad way to write a trans character without committing? Or is this not a trans character, in which case, why are we bringing in, like, the whole cross-dressing thing? And he even has that line about how, like, he started wearing women's clothing because he felt more comfortable that way. Yeah.
Peaceful.
So what does that mean? Like, it's just such a weird middle ground that makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah. I mean, all right. So, sorry, April, were you going to say something?
No, I was just agreeing because it's just like I'm with you guys. Like, I don't understand what we were hoping to accomplish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or where I just don't. Yeah.
So like, I think, Michelle, you hit one of the main issues with this episode in particular, which is that the way that they deal with, the way that they present this whole thing, okay, so, before we, recorded this episode, I talked to Sarah from OVA, who is a trans woman, and she, I just kind of tried to, like, figure out my thoughts, and it was like, I need your help trying to figure this out, because I don't quite understand how, like, I don't know how to put this into words. And she said something that was, cause she saw the episode, and she said something that was, I thought, like, really captured the issue, one of the issues of the episode, which is that every serious moment displays Ritsu as, like, a trans woman, but, like, all the jokey scenes about Ritsu, or at least most of them, like, the ones that aren't making fun of him, like, apologizing like crazy, are making fun of him for dressing as a woman. So, like, if it's a serious moment, you can easily read Ritsu as going through a trans experience, but then in the jokey moments, you read Ritsu as just a man who's wearing women's clothing, and that's something that should be made fun of. And that's not okay. That's very disgusting and gross. And Michelle, you're right. It's like this weird middle ground that I don't understand what the purpose of it is. Like, why?
Yeah. Like April was saying, like, what are we accomplishing here? Like, this is even stranger to me than the fact that we have, like, canonically gay and bi characters on the show, and how that's always, like, has negative connotations to it, and other characters respond negatively to it, because this is like, if he's not trans, why even go there? Like, this is, and I was like, honestly, and I was telling these two guys this before the podcast, but, like, I was so confused about, like, the motive of the show that I went on the wiki, and so the wiki lays out the situation for Ritsu here. It says, like, he's extremely apologetic, has very low self-esteem, and a tendency to overreact. To ease his nerves, he dresses in women's clothing because he says he then feels less pressure from society, which to me seems like a very weird way to just get into this whole character, because, like, less pressure to perform masculinity, like, less pressure how? And, like, and nobody, like, the thing is, like, we don't find out that he is a man until Toru bumps into him, and everyone else is just acting like it's, like, him presenting as a woman is totally normal, which, like, makes sense if it is a trans thing. But if it's not a trans thing, why aren't they just, like, upfront about that? Why is it this, like, weird reveal and then treated as a joke later? Yeah, it's just very non-committal, but, like, so negative anyway. So, like, why even go here? I honestly don't understand.
See, and you reading that wiki thing really pisses me off, because
it's crazy.
Not only that, but it suggests that being a man in society is
exactly
much more difficult than being a woman in society.
It's crazy. Is that easier?
Like that really annoys me. And yeah, it's just, the way that the show's presenting Ritsu, like, if a transphobic person watched this episode, they'd be like, well, yeah, of course, because trans men aren't men and trans women aren't women. They're just men in women's clothing or women in men's clothing. And this episode just confirms that in a way. It's like, that's kind of what it's saying in this weird way. And yet on the other end, it's also showing a flashback to Ritsu trying on women's clothing for the first time.
He loves it.
Yeah.
He's really happy happy.
The episode is giving off these mixed messages, and it's so. Are they trying and they're just failing? I don't think they're even trying. I think this is just like really problematic, and they're just trying to have their cake and eat it too. Where they're like, oh look, we're going to basically hijack the trans experience and make fun of it somehow, and
the more I look at this wiki thing, like, the more I'm trying to, like, so maybe in a weird, convoluted way that was not explained very well through the episode, what they're trying to get at is, like, maybe he displays, like, you know, he has a lot of anxiety, so maybe he's, like, nervous and awkward and shy, which are traits I suppose you could code as feminine. So it was, like, maybe an issue of, like, he wasn't seeming masculine enough to perform it to a degree where he felt confident, and so for him it was easier to dress as a woman because of his personality, lending itself easier to like a strictly feminine binary, but that he never identified as. It was just all about like just trying to pass for the sake of. See, that's crazy too, though, because that means like. To be a man, you have to be a certain way, and to be a woman, you have to be a certain way. And clearly he doesn't fit into that either. So why not just be like, you can be an anxious, timid man and still be 100% a man, and it doesn't take away from your authenticity if that's the greater message? So, like, any way you cut it, it's just bad.
Yeah, there's no
good, like...
No!
And the more that you, like, talk about that wiki, like, the more angry I get.
Yeah, it's really bad. Like, I don't know who wrote it. Maybe it's not even true. But, like, it's the only thing I have to try to make sense of this. But it just makes it even worse in some ways.
I don't know. I think the show, like, I just don't know what the show is. What was the point of all this with the show? I really don't know, like, what they were trying to do. And I think the most egregious thing of the entire episode is in the episode, like, Ritsu identifies as a man, uses he, him pronouns, like, identifies as a man. But whatever the case, someone else, and it's always the dog, because of course it's always the freaking dog, is like the most egregious thing of the episode is that you have someone that's not you telling people your gender identity.
Yeah,
it's
that
like
was
revealing your gender without your consent, without your approval. Like it's like whoever you like, that's not something you just tell. Like that's not something like for someone to just say about you. You know what I mean? That's something you say. You know, that's if I don't know. That's just such a breach of trust, of courtesy. It's kind of like
privacy.
It's privacy and. I'm not surprised it's the dog, like, at all. Of course it's the dog, the one who does the most horrible thing. So yeah, I don't care, you dog lovers. Come at me. He's the worst. He's the absolute worst.
Yeah, this is not a good episode for Shigure, because, like, on top of him just, like, really messing with Ritsu and, like, having him like apologize for all this stuff, like for his own benefit, just to mess with him. He's also constantly messing with his editor this episode too. I'm just like, look at these two poor people. You're just stressing out for your own amusement. Like, come on. This is painful now. It's like the whole episode.
Yeah.
Not a good look, Shigure, really.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so let's talk about something else that really kind of stood out to me. I'm curious to see where you guys stand on this. The imagery of suicide is very prevalent in this episode.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I just forgot the editor also had that noose at one point. That's true. Oh my god.
And this isn't the first time the editor has, like, you know, has had moments where it's treated as a joke. It's treated as like an extremist kind of joke, kind of like, oh god, like, surprise, we have a noose, or oh god, she's about to she has like a
razor, I think, last time.
Yeah. She had a razor last time. I don't know. For me, I just felt like it was, the way it was presented as a joke was off-putting, but what really kind of set me off was, you know, after the whole, like, coffee spilling over the manuscript, and it's like, you have Ritsu, like, freaking out, and then you see him about to jump off a building, and no one but Toru is freaking out. Like, only Toru is freaking out. She's the only one taking this seriously. And
really
so
weird, because like the tone of the whole thing with him on the roof is kind of not that serious, but the fact that Toru goes on the roof implies that it could be a life or death situation. But then, like, when she's having her whole monologue, like, it's supposed to be uplifting, but it's just really weird juggling those two things together, like suicide, uplifting monologue on the roof. It feels a little disconcerting.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, and not just that, but I think because for most of the episode, they've used suicide or suicide attempts as a joke, that when you actually get to this point, no one's taking it seriously. And that is the problem. Yeah. Like, that is the problem of making light of something like this. It's like, when it actually is gonna happen, no one's taking it seriously. The only one who's taking it seriously is Toru, who has this speech, and and some of the stuff she says is like really kind of alludes to possibly her experience after she lost her mother. Maybe she did think about having
you kind of get that vibe.
She said something about how, and I'm paraphrasing, but she says something about how you shouldn't be ashamed for wanting to live, even if you don't have a specific reason to live or whatever. And yeah, it's terrifying or whatever. And it just kind of alludes to maybe she went through something like this. Like, how does that change your perspective of Toru? Like, does that give you kind of more, does that surprise you? Because Toru is such a positive force of nature.
I mean, I think the thing with Toru is whenever we learn these hard truths, it's always because she's talking about somebody else and kind of brings it up to show that, like, look, I kind of understand sort of what you're going through because this similar thing also happened to me. I feel like that's how she's been able to kind of get through to most people. I mean, I think it's kind of like the same as hearing that she got bullied. It's like, it doesn't entirely surprise you, but it's like, that's a really serious thing that I don't think we'll ever get a significant flashback of. But like, Toru, I wish you could share that with somebody and have them be there for you instead of just being able to use it to help other people. Cause like, you got your own demons, girl, and they're piling up, and I'm concerned about that. So like, I believe it, but it's also like, if her mom was like her reason for being, and her sense of selfhood was tied to her mom and her mom being loving and supportive, that could have died with her mom for a period of time. I think she does also imply that, like, she is finding a new sense of purpose through all these new friends she has, and that's, like, the new most important thing to her, the thing that she's fighting to live for, to be there for them and for them to be there for her. But yeah, it definitely implies in, like, a very casual way, a super dark moment in Toru's past that she might not ever bring up again, but like, I'm concerned about now that I know about it.
Yeah. April, do you think she's never going to bring this up again? Like, is it like this is just something we learn?
I think it's just something that we learn, which is like, again, it like adds to that whole like, let's make light of this subject, because I don't think that's fair, if that's the right word to use, because like you're already not taking the subject seriously, which I'm really upset about as well, considering, because it's such a serious topic, and especially like for me, it's something like that I'm super passionate about, and so like all of like mental, like getting, okay, anyway, I'm rambling because I'm upset.
That's okay.
That's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, like, I think that's something that, like, should be talked about. And if you're truly, I think that if you're really at a place of, like, betterment, then it's something that you would, I would say, be willing to. And I mean, obviously, you don't have to tell anyone, you don't have to shout it from the rooftops. but because it's your story, you tell what you want. You don't have to, tell people if you don't want to. But so that, I guess it's one of those things where I don't think we'll ever get to hear about it, but I think it would be something that I personally would want to know, because again, like, Toru has not had the easiest go of things, and if there's anything that could like help us, like help her or have anyone help her, because sometimes she does need help, but she's not always the best at asking for it, and so people have to rely. She never asks. And so people have to rely on context clues, and that's not the best way to, like, ask for help if you need it. Yeah. Or even, like, you know what I mean? Because nothing, like, upsets me more whenever people are like, oh, well, like, it's always the happiest people that you have to look out for. And I mean, that there's a level of, like, truth in that, but then also, like, you should make it a point to, like, continuously check in on your friends, especially if you know something like that about them. Like, I think I, like, saw a commercial recently on TV where they're just like, oh, like, is there a silent moment? Like, this would be a great time to make sure, like, your friend is okay. And I was like, wow, that is, like, the simplest thing, but it's also, like, the most impactful thing. Because all it takes sometimes is just someone being like, hey, you doing all right? Like, just that small check-in, and, like, is everything, especially if, like, it's something that you're going through, that you're trying to work through. So, yeah, so many feelings.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, at least we're seeing somewhat progress in that the Soma's, like, Yuki is now helping other people go to help them get through hardship. If only he could direct that attention to Toru.
Right.
For once.
Yeah, you'd think nice. That's the next logical step. They're pretty close friends now. I mean, I don't think it'd be out of the blue to ask her some more stuff, but I mean, I feel like the show also, like, is very much like, we're gonna focus on one character per episode, and that's it. Yeah. And maybe we'll get back to some of the ones you already know about, but who knows when? Like, the
maybe
ideas
we'll
of stuff,
touch on it.
Maybe we'll touch on it, but, like, who knows when that'll happen? So, like, maybe he will, but, like, I feel like there have been a lot of opportunities and it hasn't happened yet, so it's probably gonna have to be plot related for it to come back, which is kind of sad, but yeah.
I will say, props to Ritsu, because it took him, like, one lesson from Toru to help someone else.
Yeah!
Because he helps Mik-chan, he helps the editor out. Mm-hmm. Whereas it took the others, 18 episodes to get there? So props to Ritsu for that. Is there anything else about this episode is there something about this episode that didn't annoy you? Something that you saw there, you're like, oh, that's fun. That's interesting. In particular, that you're like, oh, I do like this moment?
I think Ritsu is adorable. Even though he apologizes a lot, which is fine. I get it. I understand where you get it. Dear sweet child. But, I hope that we get to see Ritsu again, because he was enjoyable, and, hopefully we can do things better. I don't know. when you come back around. And he looks amazing in, like, all of the outfits that he was in. I was very impressed, so.
Yeah, the editor even has a line just like, oh, you gotta teach me how to wear a kimono.
I know.
Later, because you're so good at it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I will say, I find it very interesting that when Toru and the editor find out about him being male, they never follow that up by, like, demanding answers for his physical presentation. Yeah. They just both kind of roll with it. Which, again, like, is great, but also very confusing because, like, everyone gave Momishi so much crap for wearing his school outfit, but, like, they, like, don't care about I don't know what the logic of the show is, like, which things they're willing to fight battles over and which they just let slide. But, I mean, like, I'm glad that they're just rolling with it, but, like, that also seems a little out of character for this show.
I mean, I will say, and maybe this is reaching, but maybe the reason they don't want Momiji to they don't want him to dress a certain way, it's because they're scared that he's going to turn up like Ritsu,
Maybe,
which is also like,
Oh.
that's not a good look. If that's how I'm supposed to read it, that's not a good look for any of them. And Toru like was fine with Momiji wearing whatever he wanted to. So she's always been consistently like extremely supportive of whatever a person like wants. She's always been super supportive in that sense.
I think that's part of why I appreciate so much from the editor too, because like this is also the only episode she's gotten to show like a more normal side that's not hysterically
crazy
on the verge of insanity with Shigure. And she has a really nice conversation with him on the way back about like, oh, I get too frustrated and I'm trying to work on that. And she like wants to be friends with him. And he's like, oh, really? You sure you want to be my friend? She's like, yeah, I want to be a friend. And it's just like she finds out Shigure says a thing that's not his to say, which is really uncool. But she like just kind of rolls with this new information, and it doesn't change anything. She still wants to be his friend. She has no problem with him presenting however he wants. And we like for someone we don't know that much about, I just like it's striking to me that she's that chill. But I'm like eternally grateful. Maybe she'll be a really good friend to him. And that would be nice. Yeah. I want to see them be friends and go kimono shopping together.
Yeah.
Aww, I want that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Rooting for that friendship. Rooting for the Richan-Michan friendship.
Oh, it even rhymes. Yeah.
Right, it even rhymes. It's like it's the BFF friendship we needed. All right, well, if that's all you have to say, I think we can wrap it up. Any kind of closing thoughts you have on these 2 episodes before we leave?
I hope the next 2 episodes are better.
I want more Yuki drama. Somebody tell Toru how you feel so we can get over this triangle already. Come on.
Yeah.
We're ready to dive head first into the triangle.
Give us the drama. Give us one of them feeling sad because they know the other one likes her, sitting out in the rain, crying tears, and then someone finds them and they talk about it and it all works out and they grow and learn. Give us that. I live for that. Please show. I'm ready.
Give Michelle what she wants.
I mean, we were so close to getting that in the beginning of episode 18 because it was raining. It was Yuki and Toru. Yeah. It was right there, and he was saying something about his feelings, about his true self, and she goes like, "What? You just stopped talking. What were you saying?" And it's like, and then we got Kisa, which I can't complain about. But
I mean, I can't complain about her, but I'm still.
He could have talked about the hat for one thing. Like, when is that coming back?
Yes.
It's been so long.
When is the hat coming
back? When are we gonna get the hat?
Where's that hat? Hat watch. How many episodes? 4? It feels like a lot. We haven't talked about the hat.
It's. Oh wow! I completely forgot about that. Yeah, it's time, show. It's time to either give us the hat, give us some progress with Kyo. Like, come on, it's time.
I feel like we need something with Kyo soon because I kind of miss him a little bit, just a little.
It does feel like the lack of Kyo, Beatrice pointed out, really does feel like the calm before the storm, because I feel like if we're not going to touch on him for this long, it's because it's building to something super dramatic.
Yeah. All right. But that does it for us. You can find out all the info on this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can join us on Discord to text chat about animation at overlyanimated.com/Discord. You can support us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Simon. And thanks as always to our Patreon executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Beatrice, Hugh, Michael, and Needle. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.